Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Dr. Jan Fortman with Relationship Matters TV. I hope everyone is having a beautifully blessed morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Well, I haven't been on my soapbox in a long time. And now I have to get back on my soapbox. And what soapbox is that? That is the COVID soapbox. Well, now they're saying that COVID is rising again. And I know of a few people that now that it's another aspect or another strain, they've gotten COVID. Couple of them were very, very, very sick. And another one, she just had kind of like what she felt, just, it felt maybe, like just flu. But anyway, what I want to say to you is be careful. You know, be careful. You don't want to get it, number one. And then number two, some people think, oh, well, it's not as bad as it used to be. But there's such a thing as long COVID. And I know some people who have long COVID that can't remember anything. They lose their uh, uh, train of thought. So I'm just on my soapbox. But just to let you know, I got my COVID vaccine. I got another one because no matter what, and I wear my mask when I am in a closed space with a lot of people because at my age, I don't need long COVID. Well, what are we going to talk about today? Today we have a very special guest. And who is that? It is me, Dr. Jan Portman. I am my own special guest. And what are we going to talk about? The complex relationship between mothers and daughters. For some of you who don't know me, I am a mother daughter relationship coach. And I definitely, my passion is to work with adult daughters and their moms. Hello, Margaret. How are you? All the way in Scotland. I know it's 1 o'clock in the morning there, but anytime you have anything that you would like to ask or comments that you like to make, don't hesitate to do it. Well, first of all, I want to show you something. This is something that I kind of did today. You can email me at drjan at drjanicefortman.com. So let's get into it. I have had different moms and daughters talk about or say things like, I am so angry with my mom, or I'm so angry with my daughter. And this is a prolonged kind of thing. And it's like, what? And then I'm so angry with my mom, or I'm so angry with my daughter. But guess what? It's two different things. Well, hello, Margaret. Maxine is greeting you, and she's greeting everyone else. Thank you, Margaret, and thank you, Maxine. So, what I wanted to, since I hear this a lot, I'm angry with my mom, I'm angry with my daughter, or I resent my mom, or I resent my daughter. I thought I would just kind of talk about and have a conversation with you. The difference between, I guess, resentment and anger. But I want to start off with this. When you watch my video, so, all of you who have daughters out there, I know you can still remember those words and that feeling. It's a girl. Wow, a girl. How lucky, how exciting, how special, how important, how hopeful. We will be so close. We're going to be best friends and tell each other things and secrets and share hopes and dreams and fears in a way that mothers and daughters could really do. But what we don't think about, especially at that time, is the other side of this relationship. As our daughters grow older, how complicated, challenging, and sometimes downright impossible that relationship can be. Mother and daughter relationships are complex, with a special set of emotions reserved only for the mother daughter. Even the healthiest of relationships can at times be challenged, have real challenges. So I'm going to read a quote to you, and this quote is in the front of my book, which I'll talk about later. The relationship between parents and children, but especially between mothers and daughters, is tremendously powerful, scarcely to be comprehended in any rational way. And that is a quote from Joyce Carol Oates. So, what is the difference between resentment and anger? Where does it come from? Where do they come from? And what are the two different characteristics? So, I want to start with the origin and the cause of resentment. Usually, resentment is like a prolonged feeling, and it's not like a burst of a feeling. It's a feeling that kind of lasts for a little while, or sometimes forever, depending. And usually, resentment comes from when you feel, moms or daughters, that you being treated unfairly, that you being disrespected or have been disrespected. You might feel that you're not being acknowledged. Um, for instance, let's take a daughter. She might feel resentment towards her mother because maybe her mother, she feels that her mother favors another sibling. It could be a brother or a sister, that she favors them more so than she favors the daughter, and that it's a consistent thing. And so resentment can be built up. And from the mom, it could be, you know, she can resent her daughter because maybe her daughter is, I would say, in a better situation. It could be that the mom never graduated from high school, and the daughter has a college degree, or it could be that the mom is in a bad relationship with, the father, and the daughter is in a good relationship with the father. And sometimes resentment can come by. So it's kind of like a prolonged kind of thing. But anger is a response that comes all of a sudden. And it's like from, you feel like you've been wronged, so to speak, or a threat. And it could be something that happens right now, or it happened in the recent past. So, from the daughter's point of view, it could be the daughter is angry because maybe her mother criticizes her all the time. And so she gets angry. The daughter can be angry, the mom can be angry at her daughter because maybe she feels like the daughter never listens to her. And so she's angry about it. So now, how long does it usually last? Now, resentment, as I said earlier, is a long held emotion. It can fester over time. And it can arise, as I said earlier, from long standing issues and misunderstandings or hurts that haven't been addressed or resolved. So if you're a mom or if you're a daughter, what I'd like you to do is see if you are in that situation or if you know anyone in that situation. Now, what about duration and persistence as far as anger is concerned? Well, anger is reactive and it's immediate, and it can flare up all of a sudden. Uh, and it's usually in response to a trigger or to some kind of specific situation. And there are all kinds of triggers. So if you know, now it doesn't mean that you have these triggers or you are triggered. Put it in the chat what you think some of the triggers could be. But although anger can fade once the situation is resolved, if it's not addressed, what can it do? It can evolve into resentment. One thing about anger, and I'm just gonna say this: you can get angry and let it go. As my husband says, let it go, Louie. Because anger and resentment, who does it harm? More than likely, it's not harming the other person. It's you that is harming because these are emotions that you are holding in yourself. Because think about it. If you're angry at someone or your mom or your daughter, tell her, I'm angry with you because of whatever it is. Because if you don't resolve it right then and there, what happens? It turns into resentment. And what happens with resentment? It has an extreme negative effect between the mother daughter relationship. So think about it, moms. Think about it, daughters. Do you have a resentment? Is there something that you got angry about, but you never discussed it with your mom or your daughter that you uh, just said, well, I'm just not going to bring it up. Um, because if I bring it up, it's going to be an argument, or I just going to forget about it. But you don't forget about it, and it stays in and it festers and it affects a lot of things. It can affect anything. It can affect saying good morning, and instead of good morning, it can good morning. Why? Because you were angry about something. You didn't resolve it. You didn't address it. And what happens? It turns into resentment. So, what else is it about resentment and anger. Okay, let's talk about intensity, how strong it is. Resentment is simmering. You know what simmering means? That's hot. It's a simmering emotion that remains under the surface, but can influence your behavior and perspectives over time. So let's think. If you really resent someone, even if it's not mother and daughter, but just think of someone that you might resent, just one of your acquaintances, friends, colleagues, bosses. What happens is you start looking at that person from a different perspective because your resentment of that person is clouding your perspectives. And more than likely, you start perceiving them in a negative fashion. So, with moms and daughters, I've seen this which is why I became a mother daughter relationship coach, where I've seen this resentment. And I'll hear something from an adult daughter, something that happened like when she was a teenager, and they go back, well, you know, she never let me, uh, whatever. She never let me stay out with my friends. Never did. And I've never forgiven her for that. Or I had a good friend and she talked about the good friend so bad that she's not, she not my friend anymore and she should have been. I resent that. Or I wanted to be a ballerina and she wouldn't let me go to dancing school and I resent that. And these are adults. And right now they couldn't go to dancing school if they wanted to. But they just can't carry that resentment. Now they might have been angry at first, but they never really tried to address it with their mom or even find out from their mom maybe she couldn't afford it. Okay. But okay, so that's resentment. Anger usually is more intense, but it's usually short lived. It's because it's an immediate reaction. So when this young lady said, um, I, I'm angry with my mom because of this, it's no, you're resenting her because that anger is gone. You just have something festering now within you. Now, how do we express our anger and our resentment? Well, resentment might not be openly expressed. Instead, it might manifest in like passive aggressive behaviors, you know, or avoiding the person. So it's like a mom or a daughter that instead of calling once a week, they don't. They avoid their mom or they avoid their daughter, or sometimes they even detach from the relationship. So there are clients who don't speak to their moms. I haven't spoken to my mother in 4 years, they'll say. Uh, or the mother, I'm not calling her. I'm never calling her again. That's resentment. Anger, more likely to be overtly expressed, which means arguments, confrontations, or heated discussions. But a heated discussion to express yourself, to get it out in the open, no matter how it ends up, at least you have expressed yourself. Now, what are the potential effects on the relationship? kind of goes back to what I just said. If it's unchecked, if it's resentment, it can lead to a lack of trust, a breakdown in the communication between the mother and the daughter. And I've seen that. Now, as far as anger is concerned, you can have temporary arguments, but it also provides an opportunity for immediate discussion and resolution. Now, let's say you are angry. It's something that your mom or your daughter did and it made you angry. Or let's say one of the others said something and you say, oh my God, this is going to be an argument. Or, as I said, there are also misunderstandings. So, what's a good thing to say to do this? Say, please, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding what you said. So, in other words, uh, let's say my daughter is angry with me and I don't really know why. So I can say, this is what I'm hearing. You're angry with me because of, and vice versa. And repeat what you think it is, so that that other person can tell you why. That way, there are no misunderstandings, and then you can say, okay, you can resolve it saying, okay, well, I understand what you're saying, but okay, so this is why. So as far as, let's say, what I said earlier about the daughter that wanted to go to dancing school and she got angry with her mom, let's say back then, instead of holding that in, if she had told her mom, then her mom might have said, well, I know you want to be a dancer, but I can't afford it. We can't afford it at this time. And I'm sorry. I know you would be a wonderful dancer, but it's not because I don't want you to be one. It's just because I can't afford it. Now, what will that do? She wouldn't be holding on to to this resentment as an adult. Okay. Now, some people, moms and daughters, you got to hear them out, because sometimes it's hard for people to let go until they have been heard out. Sometimes they're repeated over and over again, but you've got to hear them out and you've got to let them know that you understand or that you hear them. Miscommunication between people, and especially moms and daughters, I see that is the number one issue when it comes to having these negative relationships. I did a survey, and I just put it out to uh, moms. Well, I put it out to daughters. And the common thread in all of that, with the different questions that I asked, was communication. We just don't seem to communicate. We speak a different language. So what do? You sit down, you talk, you make sure that you understand each other, that you communicate with each other. That's with any relationship, actually. So now, Margaret or Maxine, do you have anything that you would like to comment on? A question? I know Maxine has daughters and a granddaughter. Margaret? So, how do you, how, what can I say this? How do you get past, if you or your daughter or your granddaughter How do you get past the anger when something comes up and you become angry, or she becomes angry, or they become angry? And so how do you get past that? I want to know. Okay. So I'm going to take a brief commercial, and I'm going to come back, and I'm going to come with what I think is a good way to go past that anger and that resentment. Came back a little too soon. Well, anyway, so here is my book, and it's available on Amazon.com. The Secrets to How Not to Throw Mama from the Train. And this book is all about navigating the challenges in the adult daughter aging mother relationship. And so I had asked a question before I went off, and Margaret says, engaging with your daughter or children to understand them better. Definitely. And I hear that. I just don't understand my daughter. I just don't understand my mother. But like Margaret says, when you engage with them, when you communicate with them, you get a better understanding. As a matter of fact, I have told some daughters, do you know your mother? Do you? And they, well, no. Have you sat down and had a conversation with her mother to find out who she is? Because if you find out who she is really, then you will find out, you will see why she thinks the way she does, why there's some actions that maybe you didn't understand. Uh, you find out why. You'll even find out, if you were raised by your mom, you'll find out why she raised you a certain way. And Maxine says, okay, for anger, we usually start with an apology. If the one that raises their voice must apologize, oh, okay, the one that raises their voice must apologize and then calmly state their case. Yes, definitely, definitely. Because you know what? You can't get anything done when you're screaming and yelling at each other. And Margaret says, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, a text just came in. A question. Does your unresolved issues with your mother affect your relationship with others? Yes, this is a very good question. The mother-daughter relationship affects all of our other relationships. And I did, as I said, I did a survey of 50 women across the United States. And then I did another survey of, I think it was about 12 or 15 women based on the first survey. And what I found is that from the surveys, is that a lot of women, when you talk about other relationships, their relationship with their mom influences the the friends that they choose. It influences, and this was kind of amazing to me. It influences what if they choose a man or partner, what kind of partner they choose. If it also affects whether or not they get married, whether or not they want to get married, how they act in their marriage, if they have children, and if they do have children, how they raise their children, and what kind of, it also affects their professional lives. What kind of careers they choose. Now, it can be, I chose this career because my mom was in this career, or it could be, I chose this career because this is what my mom used to do. This was my mom's career, and I'm making sure I'm not going to have that kind of career. Now, transparency. I used to feel like my mom was controlling. So I had decided whenever I got a job, I didn't want to have a boss like right over me. And I always chose positions where I was either in a two-girl office, so I was kind of like, my boss was somewhere else. I chose teaching. Well, I always wanted to be a teacher, but I loved it because I was in my classroom and I could do what I want. I chose being an entrepreneur because I'm my own boss. So, yes, the mother daughter relationship affects everything. It affects all of our other relationships, whether or not you were raised by your mom. There was a client that I had who mom gave her up for adoption. And there was a resentment for her mom when she found out who her mom was. And then she also found out that her mom put her up for adoption, but not one of her brothers or sisters. And guess what? She told me this affects my relationship as far as my girlfriends. She said, I can't keep friends because she gets, I guess, like that attachment kind of thing, uh, where she has to be with them all the time or they have to be with her all the time because she thinks they're going to leave her. And it's the same way with men. She says, I can't help it because I think they're going to leave me because her mom left her. So yes, to a person that texts me, yes, it does affect every relationship that we have. And then Margaret says here, yes, sometimes it is about the mothers, not the daughters. Very, very true. In that instance, what I just said, yes, it's about the mothers. There are some mothers who just, I don't know what to say. Uh, they just not motherly, I guess you could say. There are some mothers who are narcissistic. Um, there, excuse me, there are mothers who are not all that hot, but then there are some good mothers. So that relationship and how daughters interact with other people can be from one of two, from a very good, nurturing mom to one who is not. Let's see, another. Uh, this is good questions. How can I get rid of the guilt that I feel because I can't get my mom to understand that despite our differences, that I still love her? To get rid of the guilt, let me say this. The first thing about guilt and is that you have to forgive yourself. So how do you forgive yourself? I'm glad that question came up. And I had something right here. Here it is. I think this is it. About forgiveness, about being able, and now I don't see it, to forgive yourself. If you start thinking about the fact that you and your mom are in different generations, and you have to think, try and feel, or even if you can't feel, to look up or ask your mom, about how, when I said about whether or not you know your mom, about how she feels about things, and and how you can try and understand how she feels about things. And then always, always tell your mom that you love her. Always. I had some clients, they were sisters, and they wouldn't say to their mom, they resented their mom for so many things that happened when they were children. And they never said that, told their mom they loved her. But they did love her. And then on top of that, they felt guilty because had never told their mom that. So what I told them is, first of all, you have to forgive yourself for those feelings that you have. That's something that you have to work on. Write down, why is it that I feel guilty? And then look at that. Is that logical? Is it more emotional? Why do I feel guilty? And then work on forgiving yourself. Once you forgive yourself, and I'm not saying this is going to be like an overnight thing, because it's not. Forgiveness is hard. But once you forgive yourself and you keep saying to your mom that you love her, after a while, it'll go away. And you know what? If you have that conversation with your mom, talk about the differences between your generations. Talk about it. I used to talk to my mom about the difference in generations, in music. And you get an understanding. So Margaret says here, what they can't heal from is transferred to their daughters or daughters. Yes, Margaret, communication is the key. Communication is the key. I say that all of the time. You've got to communicate. So now it was something else I wanted to say here. Oh, yeah. So, um, and this has to do still with resentment and anger. And this is for moms and daughters. But I want to say to you, respect your differences. Respect your differences, especially to the person that sent the text. Respect your differences. There are generational differences, but you have to remember, mom, there's always something to learn from your daughters. And daughters, you know, there's always something to learn from your mom. It could be something spiritual. It can just be something, just an everyday thing. Both. Today, think about it, moms. This is the tech age. And most of us are not really techie, but our daughters and our granddaughters are. You can learn from them. Daughters, you know you can learn from your moms because things are the same. Relationships are the same. Learn from them. Even learn how to cook. Be positive. So, if you can, avoid negative talk and avoid that negative self talk. And that negative self talk about feeling guilty, sometimes it's good to have a mantra, sometimes it's good to meditate. Whatever you do, whatever you need, you just might need to talk it out. Do that. Be open minded to what your daughter is saying to you or what your mom is saying to you. Do something for your daughter or for your mom that you know is going to make them smile. So I just I wanted to go over just those things that affect the mother-daughter relationship. The next time I talk with you, I'm going to talk about boundaries. Before I do that, okay. Oh, here's another. What could be the long-lasting effect if you didn't at least try to reconcile the relationship and then that mom suddenly passes away? Now, I have said this to someone, and I said, you know what? You do not ever want to get that call, and you have not reconciled with your mom because you didn't call her for some reason, because you were angry with her. You harbored this resentment and you haven't talked to her in a while, and you get that call. So I said this to some clients of mine who said, oh, I haven't talked to my mother in a long time. She's this, she's that, she's the other. And I said to them, what happens if you get that call? At first it was, oh, she's healthy. I said, but anything can happen. It can be an accident. How are you going to feel? You're going to feel guilty. That's a guilt that's extremely hard to get rid of. And I hate to say this, and I'm generalizing here, but usually, I'm generalizing, when you see a mom who has passed and she has daughters, they're the daughters who you see, they're grieving. But then there's one that wants to throw themselves in the casket. Usually that's because they didn't reconcile and they're riddled with guilt. And it's usually when they come to me, it's like all the things that I wanted to say that I should have said to my mom, and now she's gone. I have had women, once I say I help mothers and daughters navigate the challenges in that relationship. I help mothers and daughters, adult mothers and daughters especially, get back to that time when the daughter was a young girl and or baby, and there was that love, that unconditional love that was between them, to get back to that. If you are one of those moms or adult daughters out there who has not reconciled with your mom, no matter what, even if, as one lady said to me, I called my mom and I said I love her. And she said, "Oh, don't give me that love stuff." I said, "Yeah, but you, it was up to her to accept it, but you did it. So there is no guilt there. Don't harbor resentment there. Don't harbor anger there. You did it." And Maxine did say to Margaret, that's correct, about um, what they can't heal from is transferred through their daughters. Yes, honey. And that's what we call the generational curse, because there are and is a generational curse when it comes down to that. So that's really about all I had this evening about the mother-daughter relationship and the difference between resentment and anger. So if you out there are harboring resentment, communicate, talk about it. Don't let that have, don't let that make that relationship between your mom and between you. And something else here. Okay, I like this one. Whatever the issues are, give your mother the benefit of the doubt because she has earned it. I love that. And guess what? I'm going to close on that. I want to thank all of you for tuning in, for watching, and for contributing. I really appreciate it. Margaret, all the way from Scotland, and Maxine, all the way from Midlothian, Illinois. I really appreciate it. So, what I want to say to you, the mother daughter relationship is one of the most important relationships in your life. So I want to see you again next week on the mother. Oh, wait a minute. I'm starting to say the mother daughter relationship show. That's because I have another show. It is on the Win Win Women TV network. And it is called the Mother Daughter Relationship Show. And on that show, I give all kinds of tips and tools on how to navigate the challenges in the mother daughter relationship, from communication to boundaries. From if you're a grandmother, if you're a mother-in-law, if you're the daughter, if you're the stepdaughter, the mother-daughter relationship. So tune in, and all you have to do is go to the Win Win Women TV network and scroll until you get to the mother daughter relationship show, and you can see all the recordings. So thank you again for coming and watching and listening to Relationship Matters TV. Remember, there are all kinds of relationships. There are all kinds of relationship matters. Today was the complex relationship between mothers and daughters and the difference between anger and resentment. I will see you all again next week on Relationship Matters TV. Have a beautiful, blessed rest of your morning, afternoon, or evening. And before I go, one more thing. Well, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So for the month of July, over 56,000 views. For the month of June, it was 52,000. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you. I love my viewers. And I had a heart over here, and I can't find that heart. Oh, here it is. I celebrate you because you make a difference. So, as Maxine says, good night, Margaret. Good night, Margaret. Go to bed. All right, that's it. I will see you again next week on the Relationship Matters TV show. Bye bye.